Hi, and welcome to Preventing and Managing Incidents. This is a recorded version where you can get together as a group or an individual to carry out the course. Today, we'll be covering everything that is within the online course, except this will be a bit more interactive. So lots of opportunities to get together and discuss some scenarios and think about what you might do in different situations. If you're an individual, please do grab a pen and paper and write down your thoughts during those discussion points. So we've got a lot to go through today. So we're going to have a bit of an introduction and think about some facts and figures related to incidents. We're going to look at what you need to do to be prepared to mitigate incidents, and we're going to look at first aid kits. We're going to have a good look at how you might manage an incident, and we're going to look at contacting emergency services. We're going to think about leadership styles and what might be best for managing an incident. And as said, we're going to go through some scenarios and get you to think about how you might lead an emergency. And we're going to think about what you need to do after an incident and what you need to do to follow up. And we also have some useful resources for you. So over 100,000 group walks are led by ramblers, walk leaders, and well-being walks each year. Most are incident-free, but sometimes things can go wrong. Thinking in advance about what you can do in any incident can prevent incidents and make you feel confident to act should something happen. So we have a short introduction video to play you from a walk leader, just talking about his experiences of managing incidents on group walks and just setting the scene really before we get going through the presentation.
Hello, I'm Mark Chung and I'm a Ramblers walk leader. Whatever the types of walk you lead, from urban strolls to high mountain adventures, preparation is key. But sometimes, despite all your planning, incidents can still happen. I always think about the P's: planning, preparation, patience, and having a plan B. I've been a walk leader for 10 years, and over that time, I've only witnessed 2 walking incidents. Unfortunately, they weren't too serious. One resulted in a sprained ankle and the other in minor cuts and bruises. Even so, I initially felt quite daunted and unsure of the best course of action to take. But through those experiences and from speaking to other walk leaders, I have learned some game-changing lessons. It may sound obvious, but the first thing is just to be responsible and do something. In a serious situation, every minute can count. It's better to take some action than simply do nothing. In any emergency, whatever you do and the actions you take are obviously very important. But equally as important is the way you go about doing it. In other words, your leadership skills. Being able to take control of the situation and keep the group calm and reassured is a valuable skill. Most importantly, in both the situations I had to deal with, there were people in the group who could help in some way, either because of their existing knowledge and skills, their experiences from other situations, or simply by what they had in their backpacks. Utilising the group's help was invaluable and helped me realise that it didn't all have to rest on my shoulders. Whilst incidents are rare, you can still think in advance about how you might handle different situations, what you can do to help prevent them from happening, and what skills or knowledge you might need to manage an incident. Remember, if an incident does happen on one of your walks, it doesn't make you a bad walk leader. The most important thing is not only to manage the incident while it's happening, but also that you learn from it and take time to reflect upon how you might do things differently if faced with a similar scenario again in the future.
So, some facts and figures. As Mark's already said, incidents are rare. He's been walking for 10 years and only had 2 incidents over that time. Every year, less than 1% of incidents occur on Ramblers group walks, which is really positive to hear. but still we do need to make sure that we are prepared for them as much as possible, so if it does happen, then we can help the individual or people involved in that incident. As you may or may not be surprised, most commonly it's trips, slips and falls. 56% are near misses or lead to minor injuries. And in only around about 13% of incidents is it that emergency services are needed and had to be called. On average, around about 8 people on a group walk. So safety of the whole group is vital. So a big part of your role as a group leader is to obviously look after, help the person that's been injured, but also as well checking in with your group. And, you know, there's going to be several people in that group that can help you. So it shouldn't all sort of fall on your shoulders. So we thought it was a good idea to ask you whether you think this is true or false. So I must have a first aid qualification to lead walks or wellbeing walks with the Ramblers. This is something that we get asked from time to time, so we thought it was good to do a bit of myth busting on this. I'm going to give you a bit of a chance to discuss as a group. So it is a bit of a misconception that you must have a first aid qualification to lead walks or wellbeing walks. We do recommend that you have some level of knowledge about how to deal with, you know, minor things, cuts and grazes, those kind of things. And also as well, of course, you need to know how to contact emergency services. We also do ask that you carry a first aid kit. And that may be something that you'll have yourself as an individual, or maybe on some group walks, you just have one first aid kit as a group. Groups vary on that. We also wanted at this point for you to have a bit of another discussion. So to think about, what do you do in preparation for leading a walk to help ensure safety and be prepared should an incident happen? So now that you've had a bit of a chance to have a discussion about your preparation and what you do, we've now got a video just to summarise some key things.
My name is Nigel Harling and I'm the Team Secretary for Patterdale Mountain Rescue Team. I've been a member for 25 years and we're one of the busiest mountain rescue teams in the country. Serious incidents on group walks are relatively uncommon, but there are a few things that you can do to minimise the risk and to help you know what to do if something does happen. My 4 top tips would be: think about your equipment. You don't need the latest high-tech jacket. The trick is to put a little thought into what conditions you might meet and packing a bag with enough kit to ensure that you can cope with whatever the day may bring, including a first aid kit, additional clothing, food, water, a torch and whistle. Watch the weather. We are renowned for being a bit obsessed with the weather in the UK, which makes it surprising that people often don't pay enough attention to how it might affect their day. Whatever your activity, being prepared for the weather can make a big difference, and it's especially important if you're walking in mountainous or remote areas. Develop your skills. Whatever your planned activity for the day, be honest with yourself about you and your group's knowledge, fitness and ability. We all like to tell ourselves that we're a little fitter or indeed more capable than we actually are. But in this instance, it pays to be honest. Don't lead a walk that's outside your abilities, and think about the skills you might need for the walks you lead, be that navigation, first aid training or specialist winter skills. Know how to get help. Accidents can happen, so whatever your activity, make sure you carry the appropriate means of calling for help should you need to, usually a fully charged mobile phone. Know how and when to call for mountain rescue. If you aren't near a road, then an ambulance may be unable to reach you, so dial 999 and ask for the police, and then mountain rescue. Before your call, make sure you have all the details you need. Location with a good reference if possible. name, gender and age of the casualty, nature of the injuries or emergency, number of people in the party, and your mobile phone number. Give all your prepared details of the incident and stay where you are until contacted by the rescue team. If you have to make a further 999 call, follow this procedure in full again. The call handlers will be able to talk you through any additional measures you can take to help the casualty, and as soon as the team arrives, they'll ensure the safety of the casualty and the rest of the group. The most important thing is for you all to remain warm and safe while you wait. Remember, mountain rescue teams are here to help in the unlikely event that you're involved in a serious accident or incident out on the hills, but preparation is key, both to minimise the likelihood of something happening and to make sure that you know what to do if it does.
So we are going to be going into detail into some of those things, but some really useful top tips there. So moving on to first aid kits, as we mentioned at the beginning, really good idea to have a first aid kit on you as a walk leader. But again, it may be that you carry one as a group. So we want you to think now as a group or as an individual, what types of walk do you lead and what items do you carry in your first aid kits? So first aid kits, lots of different things, of course, that you can carry, but a lot of it depends on the type of walk that you're leading. And also as well, it can be quite an individual thing. So there may be some things that you don't want to leave the house without. So for shorter walks, don't really need much at all. Plasters and antiseptic wipes for those sorts of typical cuts and grazes that you might get. Blister plasters are good if you're wearing hiking boots, and especially good to carry in case you've got any new walkers and they might be breaking in their boots for the first time. Antihistamine lotion could be good for nettles, stings and bites, and of course sun cream, very important for these warmer months. For longer full-day walks and mountainous areas, you'd want to carry similar things as what you would for shorter walks, but some extra dressings and tape for bigger cuts and grazes, and thinking about bandages as well. So a range of different bandages, just in case there are any sort of trips and people get sprains. Where there's livestock or wild animals, there's a risk of ticks, which can carry Lyme disease. Also in sort of woodland areas, moorland areas, anywhere where there's long grass as well, ticks can sort of hang out. So bring a pair of tweezers or ideally a dedicated tick removal tool. So the weather can change, of course, and sometimes it can change quite quickly and catch you out. So if that happens in the middle of an emergency, you might need to think about keeping the person that's injured warm. And so foil survival blankets are good to have just in case of an emergency. So at this point, we'd like you again to have a pause and have a think about any incidents that you might have needed to manage on a walk. And, you know, obviously don't give away any sort of personal or confidential information, but just think about how you manage that and if there's anything that you learned from it or anything that you might do differently. So if you have experienced an incident on a walk, it can be quite daunting, especially the first time that it happens. There's a range of things that can happen, a range of things that can go wrong and catch you out. So this slide might help you to think about some different steps to take if you are within an incident and how to manage it. So the first is assessing, so trying to remain calm and stop the group to assess the situation. It could be that there's somewhere a bit safer that they could be away from the injured person and perhaps maybe be a bit sheltered away from any sort of hot or sort of super cold weather. Check if anyone is in danger and if it's safe to approach and help to determine what to do next. Of course, you want to protect, so you want to think about yourself, the group and the injured person. So there's lots of different people that you need to be thinking about. Can the injured person get themselves into a safer position? Again, do you want to move them away? Can you move them away and get them in a better position? And if in any doubt about any injuries or condition of the person, don't move them. Keep them in that place and wait for some proper help to come once you call the emergency services. And check in with the group. And again, thinking about, do they need to be sheltered and, away from the weather or any sort of dangers. Emergency services, contacted them. We're going to go through that in more detail on the next slide. You may not always, of course, need to contact emergency services, but it's something that you'd want to do quite early on. First aid. Giving first aid obviously depends on the type of injury, and some walkers might actually be able to administer it themselves if minor. So if it's just, a little cut or graze, they may be happy to just sort of wipe off any dirt and blood themselves and, pop a plaster on it or whatever needs to be done. And of course, you need to think about sanitation and wearing gloves and disposing of any waste in a sealed bag. So reassuring the group is very, very important. Of course, the person that has been injured, you want to treat them with dignity and respect. You want to keep in communication with the wider group as well as the individual, just to let people know what's going on and reassure them a bit. Of course, it may be that they themselves are anxious about the situation or stressed. So you want to try and keep them as calm as possible. And something else that's really important is just remembering that you're not alone, and there's lots of other people that are likely going to be within the group that can help you. So for example, you might want to get some help with contacting emergency services. You might want to ask if there's anybody who has first aid or are medically trained that might be able to help. You could also see if another member of the group could help sort of keep communication going with the wider group so that they know what's going on, and just generally overall just trying to keep everyone informed and trying to relieve stress as much as possible. Moving on to contacting emergency services. As said, this is something that you might need to do quite early on if it's something more serious that you're concerned about that's happened. There's lots of ways in which you can do that. So in local areas with road access, of course, it's the usual 999 and ask for an ambulance. In remote areas, again, it's 999. You ask for police, and then you will ask to get put through to mountain rescue. In areas where there's reduced phone signal, you want to try using emergency SMS to text a message to 999. But in order for this to work, you have to register first to register 999. And where there's no signal, so you need to shout out and signal for help, or ask another member of the group to go to a location where they can get a signal. And the international distress signal is 6 whistle blasts or torch flashes repeated after a minute break. And the information that you want to relay in an emergency, lots of things to consider, but location, clearly state your location. If you have a grid reference app, use it to provide the exact location. You want to state the nature of emergency, so explain the situation and the type of assistance that you need. So for example, is it medical or do you need mountain rescue? And you want to give the details about the casualties. So as much as you know, their name, their gender, their age, and details of their injuries, and the party size. So you also need them to know how many is in your group and how many are with you at that particular time. And of course, you need to give over your phone number. So this is helpful because the emergency services may need to get in contact with you for an update. There's also some other ways in which you can share your location. So what 3 words, for example, could be useful. And this essentially is a system that divides the world into a grid of 3-meter squares and assigns each square a unique 3-word address. The online version of OS Maps as well allows you to right-click on a location to view it as a grid reference. And there's also another app as well that you might find useful called Grid Reference Finder. So I'm going to play you another video now, which shows an incident and how it could be managed.
Even if you've done everything you can to prevent incidents, things can sometimes happen on a walk that mean that you need to be decisive and make sure the situation doesn't deteriorate. If someone collapses or falls and doesn't get up, you should take charge and act quickly. You can check for life-threatening conditions by doing a primary survey. There are 5 things to check in the primary survey. Danger. Always check for danger first and only approach if it is safe to do so. Remember, you don't have to do everything yourself. You can ask if there's a first aider or medic in the group who can check for life-threatening conditions whilst you manage the rest of the group. Ask the rest of the group to move away. Response. Kneel down and check if the injured walker responds to your voice. Gently shake their shoulders. If they do not respond in any way, they are unresponsive and need to be treated as quickly as possible. Airway. Check that their airway is open and clear. Breathing. Check that they are breathing normally. Place your ear above their mouth, looking down their body. Listen for sounds of breathing, and if you can feel their breath on your cheek. Watch to see if their chest moves. Do this for 10 seconds. If they are not breathing, you need to call 999 straight away and start CPR. The ambulance call handler will talk you through how to do this, so it can be useful to put your phone on loudspeaker so that you can hear the instructions. Circulation. Look and check for any signs of bleeding. Control any severe bleeding by putting direct pressure onto the wound. The stages of the primary survey can be remembered using the initials DR, ABC. If they are still unresponsive but not bleeding, put them into the recovery position and call 999. Remove glasses if they are wearing them, along with any bulky items from their pockets. Place the arm nearest to you at right angles to their body, with the elbow bent and the palm upwards. Bring their other arm across their chest and place the back of their hand against the cheek nearest to you. With your other hand, pull their far knee up so that their foot is flat on the floor, keeping the back of their hand pressed against their cheek. Pull on the far leg and roll them towards you onto their side. Adjust the top leg so it is bent at right angles. Gently tilt their head back and lift their chin. Monitor the injured walker while you wait for help to arrive, and keep them warm by covering them with a foil blanket or spare clothing, keeping them as insulated from the ground as possible. Reassure the rest of the group and make sure they stay safe and warm until help arrives.
Following on from the video of the collapsed walker, we're now going to give you an opportunity to go through a few scenarios and discuss within groups how you might handle the situation and what you might do. So the first situation is you're on a moorland walk all day and a walker complains he is feeling faint. They had been struggling to keep up and it's a very hot day. you are with 7 other walkers. What should you do? A couple of things here to think about. First thing is stopping for a break, asking the walkers to try and keep cool, have some water. At that point, you want to check in with the man and check how he's feeling. Is it a first aid situation? Is there anything you need to do? Do you need to contact emergency services? Or is it just simply that you need to help him to cool down? Is he wearing appropriate clothing? For example, he could remove a layer if he's got extra layers on. Really at this point, just sort of making sure that he's relaxed and keeping cool. You could also ask a walker to find a shady area, although that might be tricky because you're on moorland. But something you could also be doing is asking somebody in the group to see if there's somewhere on your walk with some shade, or whether there is an alternative route perhaps you could take that's a bit shadier because it's a very hot day. You want to reassure the group, check in with the group, and work together. So if you do decide to carry on with the walk, if the man is fine, there's no emergency, there's no first aid that needs to be done, and he's fine and you carry on, perhaps you could have somebody walking with him, just keeping an eye on him. Second scenario, you're leading a walk down an uneven footpath that is rocky in places. While talking to a walker, you hear shouts from the back. When you turn around, you see that the man has fallen to the ground. He is conscious and a little shaken, but sits upright. The weather is mild and you are only 2 miles into your 8-mile walk. What should you do? So for this one, you'd want to move the group to one side so that you can assess the situation with the walker that's fallen. You want to check in with him if he's hurting anywhere. He is shaken, so you may not, first of all, notice that he's maybe injured himself. So you probably want to do a visual check as well, or ask him to do a bit of a visual check for any obvious signs of any injury. That will help you to establish if there's any minor injury or something a bit more serious, like a little break or fracture. If there's no injuries, then see if he can stand up. He's happy to move to one side. Just let him catch his breath, get some water, and then that will give you an opportunity to have a think about maybe an alternative route to shorten the walk. If the man is still shaken, or if he feels like he can't walk that much further. If there is an injury, then of course you need to assess how bad that is and what sort of first aid you may need to do, and do you need to call emergency services? You want to be checking in with the group, updating them and informing them of your plans. And if there's anyone in the group that can help you, so could they be looking for a shorter walk, route back, for example, or helping you call emergency services if needed. So we're going to give you now another opportunity to think about any incidents that you might have had on a group walk, and think about how you dealt with that and any reflections that you may have. If an incident occurs, you need to look after yourself, the group, as well as the person that is injured and unwell. How an incident is managed can go a long way to reassure the group, create confidence in the way you respond to incidents, and ensure they will be back for the next walk. Next, we're going to look at different leadership styles and how these can kind of be used and changed to manage an incident. Moving on to leadership styles. There's many different types of leadership styles that have a place on a group walk. Have a look at these different types of leadership styles. Do you think you might be slightly more one style than the other? It's quite likely that when you're on a group walk, you might be sort of going in between different types of styles depending on what's happening. And certainly when there's an emergency, being assertive is often the most appropriate style. The reason being is that you need to make sure that you feel in control, and you're able to give the group clear directions, and you're focused and assertive. Follow-up after an incident is very important. You want to look after yourself. It can be quite a shaky experience, having gone through an incident and needing to help someone. It's quite likely that you'll feel quite shaken, tired, and you might be thinking a lot about what's happened. So a good idea to chat to family and friends and other group walkers about what's happened, and ensure you get some rest as well. Again, the group, some may still feel a bit sort of worried and unsettled after the incident, concerned about the person that was injured and, you know, what's happened to them. But also, you know, they may be concerned about coming on a group walk again in case there's another incident. So you want to check in with the group, sort of update them on things and what sort of happened once you've got home. And reporting. Reporting is something we discussed in the Walk Leadership Foundations course. Very important that you do that after an incident, even if it's minor. If it's something very, very serious, then you need to report that ideally within 24 hours. A safeguarding incident also needs to be reported to Ramblers. Near misses, minor injuries and serious emergencies, as I said, all of them need to be reported. And we also have our incident form, so a good idea to use that. Learning from the incident and reflecting on it. Again, you know, if it's happened, just happened, there's going to be a lot, I should imagine, going on through your mind about what's happened. So it's, you know, you may need to think about this as sort of a little bit after the event. Think about what you did do well, what you could have done differently. How did you make the injured person feel? And what about the group? Did you check in with them enough? But also, you know, ask them how they felt about the incident and if there's anything that you could have done differently to manage it better. We now have a couple of scenarios for you to go through as a group. So the first one is you're leading a group of walkers on a short walk through town. You have been walking with different members of the group to get to know them, as many are new to walking. You're towards the back of the group when one walker, Steve, approaches you saying he's short of breath and feeling a bit lightheaded. What should you do? Now you've had a chance to have a bit of a discussion. I'm just going to go through a few things that may have come up. So the first thing is that you're towards the back of the group, so you want to try and regroup everyone and see if there's a place where you can stop, get everyone to sort of move to the side and get Steve in a comfortable place wherever possible. And then that will give you some time to assess how he's feeling and what might be causing him to be short of breath. You could ask if there's anyone in the group that might be able to help you. Is anyone first aid trained or anyone medically trained that might be able to give you a hand? It could just be that he's just feeling a little bit short of breath and needs a bit of a break, or it could be that he's asthmatic. So you'd want to check, has he got an inhaler with him, or does he know that he has any sort of breathing difficulties usually, and what sort of things he would usually do to help. Once you've assessed how he is, that will enable you to decide what to do next. Do you need to seek medical help, so emergency services, or is it that he just needs a break and he'll be okay in a bit? You would then need to establish what to do with your walk. It may be that Steve might want to go home just so that he can rest properly and you can carry on. You would then also obviously need to check that he's got home okay, or if he's got somebody that can help him get home. Or the other option is that you finish the walk altogether and just ensure that Steve gets home okay. The second scenario, you're leading a short wellbeing walk and one of the group trips and falls onto her wrist. You're a small group of 5 walkers today and the weather is fine. What should you do? This one, you're only a small group, so again, it's about making sure that everyone is sort of kept to one side. They can go and take a break somewhere, and that will give you a chance to sit somewhere comfortably with the lady that's injured herself, and then you can assess what's happened and how badly injured she may be. For minor injuries, quite often injured people can carry out a bit of basic first aid on themselves, or if they need your support, you can help them as well. In this instance, it might just be putting together a bit of a basic sling so that the wrist is supported. And then from there, you can decide what to do with your walk. More than likely, you will just decide to finish it. You'll check in with the rest of the group and inform them that you'll let them know how the lady is, and we'll arrange another walk another time. We're now going to play our final video, tips from an expert, things to remember.
Hello, my name's Alan, I'm a first aid trainer. Despite all your planning as a walk leader, you may encounter an incident or an accident on one of your walks. It's your responsibility to manage the situation, but you don't have to do everything yourself. You may not have a first aid qualification, but you bring a wealth of experience. Formal training may give you more confidence to deal with a more severe incident. Remember, there may be other people in the group who have skills and experience who can help as well. My top tips would be, you are the most important person at an incident. Don't become a casualty yourself. Have confidence to take control. If blood is leaking out of the casualty, apply pressure and cover the wound. A bandage may be necessary, or just a plaster. Keep the casualty warm or cool depending on the weather, and don't forget the rest of the group. They may get cold too. It is unlikely you will need CPR skills. Indeed, most injured walkers will be breathing and talking to you. So get a good history of the incident to inform your decisions. Often they will be able to help administer their own first aid as well. It's true that most situations will not need mountain rescue or an ambulance. Often it's a sticking plaster or a bandage with follow-up at hospital if the injury requires further treatment or investigation. If rescue services are needed, sometimes all we can do is keep people warm and protected from the elements until help arrives. Remember, incidents are rare and often minor, but by taking control, making a plan and asking others to help, we can protect the group, prevent the situation from deteriorating and help promote recovery of the injured person.
We have some useful links for you, so access to our safety page and also our resources for walk leaders. So there you'll be able to find risk assessments and our incident reporting forms, as well as our ICE cards. My colleague Heather is now going to give you a demonstration on how to upload your records to show that you've completed this course.
So we'd ask the person who's running the session to go to the Ramblers homepage of the website, to scroll down the website to the section here, sign up and volunteering, and click on volunteering. You then, on this page, scroll towards the bottom and you'll see a tile marked supporting other volunteers. So you click on this tile, and then here on this page you will see there is information that will talk you through how to update volunteer records. If you click on this link here, it will take you to a specific form in order to update us with the names and email addresses of those who've attended the session today.
Just like to say thank you for coming along to this session. Hope that it's been enjoyable and you've had some useful discussions in your groups.